Imagine a woman so dedicated that she poured her soul into a monumental writing journey spanning over 3 decades. Saint Veronica was a humble servant who, under the guidance of her confessor, embarked on this extraordinary mission. But her path was not easy. The devil himself fought to silence her and scare her away from revealing divine secrets. But Jesus himself made a promise. This diary was destined for great benefit, something that would enrich the hearts of countless souls and serve the entire Christian world. Jesus revealed that those who cherish this work will receive special graces and that everything written is a gift from him for his glory. Saint Veronica was born in 1660 and was raised in a devout family. When she was an infant gathering flowers in the garden, the child Jesus appeared and said that he was the true flower, then disappeared. This experience left her with a longing for heavenly things. Her mother was very devout and would read the lives of saints and martyrs to her children. This led little Veronica to start doing some rather harsh penances and desire to suffer out of love for Jesus. Before her mother passed away, she entrusted each of her daughters to one of Jesus' 5 wounds. Veronica was entrusted to the wound of Jesus' side. She would go on to have a desire to join religious life, but her father disapproved of it. He wished to marry her off, but Veronica had already decided to become a Capuchin Poor-Clare nun when she was 9 and had no intention of changing her mind. Her father eventually gave in, and in 1677, at 17, she joined the Poor-Clare monastery. In 1678, she made her perpetual profession, and in 1681, Jesus appeared to her and crowned her head with his crown of thorns. Veronica deeply cared about saving sinners and did lots of penance to help them turn to God. She often cried at night as a novice, thinking about God's suffering and the offenses against him. She felt a strong desire to pray for souls and believed Jesus wanted her to do so. Sometimes she had visions of souls about to fall into sin, which made her suffer and pray even more. Jesus would sometimes show her when a soul had changed or ask her to pray for specific sinners. She wanted to be a mediator between God and sinners and thought her prayers might help, which Jesus confirmed later. One special moment was when Jesus said he was pleased with her prayers and hugged her from the cross, making her feel the pain of his passion, inspiring her to do the way of the cross more often. The devil often bothered Veronica. Sometimes it attacked her and appeared in scary forms to confuse her. It would appear like a cat or even pretended to be Jesus, the Holy Mother, or a bishop. The devil was very much bothered by Veronica's prayers and penances. Once when she was doing penance, she heard screams, noises, and hissing as if from a snake. She also heard many voices and couldn't understand what they were saying, but she remembered hearing that they would make her pay, and the room immediately lighting up in flames for a moment. The devil also showed Veronica a vision of hell. She saw it as a massive, endless place filled with monsters, snakes, and ferocious animals with intense heat and a terrible smell. She heard people cursing God and saw many souls suffering and falling into the flames. She stated that the hot flames were so big that their height could not be measured. It could only be compared to the distance between heaven and earth. One could not see the beginning or the end. Veronica was shown hell again and saw black, ugly souls falling into flames. Seeing this moved her to offer herself as a victim of divine justice to save others from going to hell. She asked God to send her more suffering so she could help save sinners. The Holy Mother then told Veronica, in the same way that the sight of God in paradise constitutes paradise itself, the sight of Satan in hell is what constitutes hell. She stated that many people don't believe hell exists, but Veronica, having seen it, have understood nothing of what hell is. In 1681, Veronica was given the mystical gift of the crown of thorns. She stated that when she became a religious, she always asked the Lord to let her experience some suffering from His passion. A few years later, on Good Friday, she had a vision where Jesus showed her His crown of thorns and His wounds, and she felt both His sorrow and her own sins. She prayed to love Jesus more and told Him to give her His crown so that the pricks of the thorns would be voices for her to tell Him how much she longed to love Him. Jesus then placed the crown of thorns on her head, causing intense pain that she felt throughout her body and fell to the ground. But the Lord lifted her and told her that she would feel those pains as long as she was alive, more or less according to His wish. She fell a few more times and the Lord lifted her. She felt as if she was sharing in His suffering, and she believed on her heart. This experience left a lasting impression on. Later, her head swelled painfully and she was taken to the hospital for treatment, but kept the cause a secret. On one occasion, she also saw a vision of Jesus with the Holy Mother and Saint Catherine of Siena. Jesus took the crown of thorns from Saint Catherine's head and replaced it with a crown of precious jewels. He then put the crown of thorns from Saint Catherine on Veronica's head. Veronica felt great pain and understood that was the pain Saint Catherine had felt when receiving the crown of thorns, which was a grace Jesus was giving to her. Saint Veronica also experienced many visions in her life. In one vision, she saw a vast landscape filled with souls, carrying heavy crosses on their backs, dressed in different colors, but facing earth and couldn't move forward. Another group of souls were dressed in white, and mostly religious, were floating. Among them, Jesus appeared in a luminous light, but only a few souls looked at Him, which left Veronica feeling very sorrowful. She lamented the lack of loving gazes directed toward the Lord, recognizing that a veil separated these souls from God, which was a sign of their lack of purity of intention. She observed that these souls were cold, and with coldness came sin, which offended God. She saw the Lord with 3 spears in hand, and He made her understand that for the offenses and sins committed, He wanted to punish Christianity. He made her see every sort of weapon, where she envisioned a great war. Everyone was killing each other, and there was a stench in the air that made everything stink, and almost everyone was cursing God. She then understood that the 3 spears were poverty, war, and disease. In another vision, the Lord made her see some souls that were deformed and monstrous. They were so terrifying that she thought she would die. She then heard a voice tell her that He had no mercy for those souls and that they would be forever deprived of Him. Veronica asked who those souls were and if they were dead or alive, and asked for His pity. She learned those souls were alive and heard the voice say they were those who were dead to grace. In 1694, Jesus and the Holy Mother appeared to her, holding the chalice of bitterness. She saw Jesus surrounded by angels and the Holy Mother with Saint Catherine of Siena and Saint Rose. In the vision, she was lifted near the Lord and the Holy Mother, who presented her with the chalice. It was nearly overflowing with a yellowish-white liquid that appeared to boil, signifying its bitter contents. The Holy Mother gave her this gift on behalf of Jesus, encouraging her to accept it. Both saints gave her permission to accept it and told her to get closer. The chalice remained suspended in mid-air, and everything else disappeared. Veronica wanted to drink from the chalice, but was not permitted to touch it. Following this vision, she endured intense spiritual trials and temptations, feeling abandoned by God. Jesus again appeared to her, telling her she was already drinking from the chalice, but should do so with joy. She shared that her suffering became more intense and described it as bitter as death itself. She would see the chalice fill and spill during her suffering, symbolizing her spiritual agony. Veronica received a divine vision one night where Saint Augustine appeared alongside Jesus and many angels. He told her that her suffering, represented by the overflowing chalice, was a precious gift from God. The angels collected the spilled contents into golden glasses, symbolizing the suffering she offered, which was pleasing to God and taken to his throne. On Christmas Eve in 1696, Veronica experienced a spiritual wound in her heart known as the transverberation. She described seeing the child Jesus use a bow and arrow to pierce her heart, causing intense pain and bleeding. She felt close to Jesus, and he told her that the hurt she had now was minor, compared to a bigger wound he'd give her in the future. The wound remained open and bleeding for several days, accompanied by a continuous sensation of pain and a fiery feeling from within, but it occasionally reopened and would stay open for several days. She offered this suffering in union with Jesus' own wounds, for the conversion of sinners. The anticipated wound Jesus spoke of was inflicted 3 months later, while Veronica was before a crucifix. She described how Jesus, seemingly detaching his right arm and holding a large nail, wounded her heart with it. She experienced great pain from this act and quickly regained consciousness. Veronica said that Jesus told her to focus on his holy wounds before starting any work so she could learn from them. He wanted his wounds to be deeply imprinted on her heart, making her heart his own. She also saw a vision of Saint Teresa of Avila being wounded by love, where her heart was pierced with a golden arrow by an angel. This made Teresa burn with love and become completely devoted to God, remaining only with him and ignoring everything else. On Good Friday in 1697, Veronica received the Stigmata. She saw Jesus crucified and the Holy Mother as Our Lady of Sorrows. In her vision, 5 rays of light came from Jesus' wounds turned into flames, with 4 containing nails for her hands and feet, and the 5th a fiery lance piercing her heart. She raised up prayers of entreaty to the Lord, so that by 1700, the bleeding in her hands and feet had come to an end. The blood continued to flow regularly from her side right up until the day she died. In 1701, Veronica wrote in her diary about all the blessings she believed was given to her by the Lord. She said she saw many special gifts from the Lord that was too many to count. He'd renewed the sorrow in her heart 500 times, and again many times had renewed the wound in it, as well as learning about virtues and practicing them. She also experienced many divine inspirations and teachings. Veronica experienced Jesus' suffering in a special way 33 times and saw him wounded and bleeding 20 times. She wanted to do God's will, but sometimes felt confused because of the intense feelings she experienced. She also shared that Jesus gave her special loving moments, such as embracing her from the cross, giving her his blood to drink, washing her heart with his blood, and purifying her from sins. She touched his wounds and received many loving embraces and wounds in her heart, feeling very close to Jesus. Veronica also received many graces from the saints, including Saint Joseph and Saint Paul. Her guardian angel also helped her with daily tasks, protected her from the devil, and accompanied her on her visits to hell. Saint Veronica received an extra guardian angel from Jesus after being continuously attacked by the devil. She also helped many souls from purgatory. In expiation, she had even suffered her own final judgment, and to inflame her with a desire for the salvation of souls, God had allowed her to see hell and purgatory, which she often visited. Among the souls she atoned for are the souls of her father and Pope Clement XI. One of them was Sister Angelica, who Veronica looked after before her passing. According to the sisters, Sister Angelica was not very obedient, but Veronica continued praying for her, especially asking Jesus for help. When Sister Angelica was near death, Veronica encouraged her to call on Jesus instead of the devil. She asked permission to her confessor to visit the Blessed Sacrament, and on her way to the chapel, the devil jumped on her under the form of a cat. She had to fight the cat off up to the door of the chapel when he disappeared after saying that she would pay for it. After Veronica prayed before the Blessed Sacrament, she went back to Sister Angelica, who soon passed. The Lord showed Veronica the place of expiation and said that Sister Angelica had been saved, but would be in purgatory for a long time. She had a vision of Angelica suffering in a dark, terrifying place in purgatory and learned that her soul couldn't be helped by prayers because she hadn't prayed for others while alive. On one occasion, Sister Angelica appeared to Veronica and said that it was true that she was suffering in purgatory. She said that if Veronica understood her suffering, she would die. In the end, Veronica's prayers and sacrifices helped Angelica's soul move from purgatory to peace. Veronica had a strong devotion to the Holy Mother and stressed the importance of consecrating oneself to her. In 1716, when she was elected Mother Superior of the monastery, she placed the keys of the convent in the hands of the Holy Mother, stated that she was the Mother Superior, and said that whatever she ordered her to do, she would follow suit. The Holy Mother replied that she was the Superior and that Veronica must accept her guidance in everything. The Holy Mother once saved the convent from a fire caused by a careless candle. Veronica and the other sisters were scared as the fire grew. She then asked the Holy Mother for help, and when she made the sign of the cross, the flames went out. The Holy Mother later said that without Veronica's prayers, the whole convent would have burned. She also took Veronica's place as Mother Superior, while Veronica was mystically away in hell for hours. Sister Maria went to see Veronica and saw that she had a majestic and extraordinary expression on her face. She was comforted by her words, but wondered why Veronica didn't say much. When she told Blessed Florida, she smiled and said that Veronica was actually in hell, sacrificing for sinners, and that the person with her was the Holy Mother in her place. Blessed Florida knew all about Veronica's life because Veronica's confessors had imposed on her the obedience to inform Sister Florida about everything in her spiritual life. Veronica spent the last years of her life in continuous union with the Lord and passed away in 1727. An autopsy was performed on her on the day that she passed. During her lifetime, she told Blessed Florida that her heart bore certain symbols of the Passion, which had been engraved with the letters, representing the vows that she took. Blessed Florida made a sketch of her heart with all the signs that Veronica described. When her heart was dissected in half, it revealed mysterious incisions shaped like the outlines of the instruments of the Passion, the 7 swords of Our Lady, and a number of letters. Veronica was beatified in 1804 by Pope Pius VII and canonized in 1839 by Pope Gregory XVI. The saint's body was destroyed in a flood after the many years of it being incorrupt. Her bones are now kept in a composite figure of the saint, with the skull being covered with wax, and her heart in a separate reliquary which is still incorrupt.